at the contribution of a teacher to student progression, student support, and outcome. Some of the key indicators of criteria 2 that we have discussed under the first role of the teacher, that is academics, is part of this student progression role of a teacher, in addition to criteria 5, which encompasses the role of a teacher in student support and progression. Now, what are the efforts made by a teacher to provide necessary assistance to students, to enable them to acquire meaningful experiences for learning at the campus and to facilitate their holistic development and progression? Ultimately, the efforts made by any teacher are evidenced in the form of student performance and the progression of students to higher education and gainful employment. Now, in criteria 2, an individual teacher can contribute in terms of the key indicators of student enrollment and profile, catering to student diversity, student performance and learning outcomes, and student satisfaction survey. Now, the process of admitting students to the program must be transparent, well administered, complying with all the norms of the concerned regulatory and governing agencies while ensuring equity and wide access. Representation of student community from different geographical areas and socio-economic, cultural and educational backgrounds must be reflected in the student profile. To this end, what can an individual teacher do, you may ask? An individual teacher can comply with admission norms of the regulatory governing agencies, can collaborate with other colleagues to ensure smooth admission process, can assess, monitor and report growth of students at every level, motivate them to achieve newer heights, and can also make special efforts to create an impact in the local society, which can then be reflected in the media. The second important key indicator is that a teacher is expected to satisfy the needs of the students from diverse backgrounds, including backward community as well as from different locales. They should make special efforts to bring in students from special categories, reach out to their special learning needs by initial assessment of their learning levels, in addition to understanding possible variations over years and how and what can be done to deal with such students, and the teacher must also promote gender sensitization. Now, the most important contribution of an individual teacher to this regard is to understand, respect and respond so as to evolve a new classroom management technique. A teacher can effectively restructure coursework and incorporate mediums of instructions for different groups of students, can promote group work, discussion and collaboration, design different assessment criteria, implement suitable evaluation methods, and identify slow and advanced learners and follow-up procedures. The tools to measure teacher performance in these two key indicators can be minutes of departmental meetings, analysis of students' feedback on admission process, photographs and LMS records of classroom management, identifying the current need in the local society and how the teacher has incorporated that in the classroom management system, record of mentor-mentee meetings, report of community service, etc. In addition, the follow-up measures that has been adopted by a teacher for slow learners like remedial classes, lesson plans, different teaching techniques, etc. can also be looked at, as well as follow-up measures for the advanced learners like giving them challenging problems, book reviews, special workshops, managerial skill development, etc. In addition to this, The internal assessment criteria or marks that has been evolved by a teacher can also be looked at. Now, the real test of the extent to which teaching learning has been effective is reflected in the student performance in examination. Now, student performance is seen as the realization of learning outcomes on successful completion of a course or a program. Now, the contribution of an individual teacher in this regard can be orienting students to outcome-based education, mailing the syllabi and readings to the student for constant reference, publishing in the website, orienting all the stakeholders regarding outcome-based education through physical circulars, and apprising students on assessment models, both internal and external. The performance of a teacher in this criteria, in this key indicator, can be measured by looking at the reports of student induction program, records of counseling session, circular copies, the website, emails, learning management systems, MOOCs, etc. All the efforts of teachers to make learning a meaningful process can be considered impactful only to the extent the students perceive it to be meaningful. Their satisfaction level is decided by the kinds of experiences they undergo, the extent of the comfort feeling, as well as intellectual stimulation and learning situations provided. Their feedback significantly showcases the actual quality of teaching learning process, enabling identification of the strengths of teaching as well as possible improvements. Student satisfaction thus is a direct indicator of the effectiveness of teaching learning in an institution, and to this end, a teacher can contribute by conducting periodic survey among students on various parameters and value student feedback in improving the standard of oneself and the institution. Now, it may be impractical to capture this aspect for every student. However, a sample survey can capture this significant feature. The performance of a teacher in this regard can be measured by looking at the feedback model that has been developed by the teacher, report of the feedback analysis, and action taken report. Within this role of student progression of the teacher, criteria 5 pertaining to student progression, student support, student participation, and activities and alumni engagement is entirely contributed to look at the role of a teacher in student progression. A teacher can provide student support by facilitating mechanisms such as guidance cell, placement cell, grievance redressal cell, and welfare measures to support students. A teacher can provide specially designed inputs to needy students with learning difficulties. Teacher can offer bridge and value-added courses in relevant areas, provide guidance and counseling to students, and identify and inform students about scholarships, feeships, and other grants. A teacher can also participate in student progression to higher studies and to employment. And to this extent, the teacher can identify the reasons for poor attainment of students and plan and implement remedial measures, can evolve sustainable good practices which effectively support students' optimal progression, facilitate vertical movement of students from one level of education to the next level or towards gainful employment, and facilitate students for qualifying for state, national, and international level exam or competition. A teacher can encourage students to participate in activities by promoting inclusive practices of social justice and better stakeholder relationship. A teacher can promote value-based education for inculcating social responsibility and good citizenry among the students. The teacher can promote active participation of the students in social, cultural and leisure activities and encourage the students to develop various skills and competencies, thereby fostering their holistic development. And finally, the alumni are considered as a strong support to the institution. An active alumni association can contribute in academic matters, student support, as well as mobilization of resources, both financial and non-financial. Nurturing the alumni association to facilitate them to contribute significantly to the development of the institution through financial and non-financial means largely depends on the interpersonal relationship between the teacher and the graduating students. This makes the students stay in touch with the institution via the individual teacher, and thereby the teacher can play a significant role in alumni engagement. Creating and nurturing this personal bond is therefore significant to this end. In terms of all the above key indicators, the performance of a teacher can be measured through minutes of the meeting with the students and mentor-mentee sessions, platform for students to share quality concerns related to academic or other matters, career guidance, extracurricular activities, minutes of guidance cell, placement cell, grievance redressal cell, etc., strategies to prepare students for competitive exams, report of social activities linked to NSS, NCC, etc., reports of talks and seminars that has been organized by the teacher and where the students have participated, specific use of technology and encouraging students to explore those technologies, and strategies to inculcate value system among students. In addition, mechanisms that has been employed by a teacher to identify needy and slow learners and the strategies to help them is also a measuring tool, including number of bridge and value-added courses offered by a teacher, innovative practices to support student progression, inclusive strategies to maintain contact and relation with alumni, number of social and cultural activities organized for the students, number of outreach programs organized along with students, and number of field trips and industry visits. In the next module, friends, we will look at the role of governance and management of a teacher.